One day a new applicant entered my office. He was a nice young man, which made the impression of someone raised by a fine family. His demeanor was one of politeness and sometimes even humility. The knowledge he had gathered in his years of studying at the university was excellent. It made him the perfect specimen for the job. I was soon rewarded, for he worked hard and concentrated, sometimes even sacrificing his free time to finish the task at hand. Yet he was by no way shy or unfriendly. His dry and clever comments often produced laughter among his colleagues. All in all, he quickly became a valued member and to some a good friend, always ready to listen. Even if he sometimes displayed strange manners, he would startle at sudden sounds and avoid gatherings with many people. Sometimes when he gave advice, one might get a glimpse of some deep wounds he seemed to hide from the world, but which would come to the surface from time to time, showing in the form of a distant gaze. He would voice his dislike for short-sightedness, fireworks, and people not valuing life, but none of us spent much thought on it, for his creativity and joyful approach to life seemed to eradicate our own worries far too often. It was difficult to get to know him better, for he liked to change the subject when things weren't to his liking, and he did it very well. Sometimes when I encountered him leaving the office in the early morning, I would ask if he couldn't see a doctor. I could tell he had some problems with sleeping, and even if it never affected his work, I was worried. But he would wave it off, show me a carefree and yet weary smile. He would continue on his way while telling me how he and sleep couldn't find common ground. Infected by his light mood, I would wish him a good rest and not think any more about it. That's how things remained. I stopped prodding about things I was sure I just imagined, and he was genuinely happy to be part of the company. We never saw him frown or moody. All he gave us was a smile before he descended again into the depths of his task. It was when I met my cousin after quite some time that I recognized some similarities. My cousin Jack was a soldier in the US Army. And one day, when he came back, he was not quite the same anymore. The doctor had given him some pills and future appointments to help him heal from whatever troubled him. I learned from his wife how he needed much time and patience from us. He was still my family, and we managed to laugh together quite often, but sometimes he would sit in his chair and stare into nothingness, his eyes dark and heavy, as if his mind was not at home. He wasn't good with sleep either, that's what the pills were for. Otherwise he would wake up in the night, disoriented, claiming to hear something outside, despite the silence all around. On New Year's Eve I came around to see him. I was a bit worried since I hadn't seen him on Christmas. His wife told me he was in a bad mood, which was the reason for him staying home. When I entered the living room, Jack was sitting there, but I could tell his mind wasn't. Outside, the first fireworks whistled into the night until they cracked. Jack had a hard time dealing with them. He told me how it sounded like hell to him, how his thoughts showed him pictures from the field every time a loud cracking sound echoed through the night. It was the first time he spoke to me about his trauma. He told me that family and friends were the only things keeping the darkness away, and how the scars would never leave him. He thanked me for being there and not ridiculing him with the things I heard as he confided in me. Me listening to him actually seemed to make him feel better. In the end, we even managed to laugh at some hilarious things we had done in the past, despite the sounds outside. After New Year, Jack made quite the progress towards getting better. He would often meet and talk. He had managed to get a job with many nice co-workers. For a while he seemed to forget the things he'd seen, but he told me that the kings he had gathered on the field would always remain, somewhere deep down. I was in the supermarket when a woman dropped an apple. Acting on instinct, I quickly picked it up, giving it to her. "Thank you," she said before taking a closer look. "Aren't you my son's boss? Mr. Watts?" she added after a moment of uncomfortable silence. Confirming her assumption, I told her how happy my employees were to have someone like her son as a colleague. She smiled at this and replied that he had this effect on people around him. She was obviously very proud of her son in every aspect. Gathering the courage, I asked the question which had entered my mind since she had introduced herself to me. It was quite a leap for me to ask such a thing based on the similarities of two completely different men, and yet in my stomach I knew that this young working man had somehow seen his fair share of disaster. "Where has your son served?" I asked, trying to sound casual. I didn't want to intrude or anger the woman in front of me. To my surprise, she just shot me a puzzled look. "What do you mean?" She replied, surprised at how I might have gotten such an impression. "Well," I started a bit awkwardly, not sure what to say. "You see, he shows these unmistakable traits, things I've seen in other veterans. But whenever we ask him personal questions about things he seems uncomfortable with, he dodges them as if he's afraid to talk about it." The woman opposite of me thought for a moment. "He never went to the army. He displayed a kind of—" She stopped for a moment in search of the right word. "Strangeness, since he was 13. I assured her how it merely was personal interest which had caused my question. Upon wishing me a nice day, we parted ways. It was in the middle of the day, therefore I went back to my own desk to do some paperwork. On my way through the office, I saw a book on the young man's desk. He himself was away, perhaps to get some coffee. It was about past lives and how they affected us even after being reborn. I never thought him to be spiritual.